The cold autumn wind blew through the bustling streets of London, causing the golden leaves to dance in the air. Elena, with her 5-month pregnant belly, walked slowly along the sidewalk, her hands instinctively cradling her stomach to shield the baby from the biting wind. The city was in a frenzy. Double-decker buses passed by, street vendors called out their wares, and the scent of freshly cooked food wafted into her nostrils. As she walked, her mind wandered, debating between making coq au vin or a simple spaghetti carbonara for dinner, wanting to impress her husband Noah, who loved both. Elena was so immersed in her culinary thoughts that she almost missed the sound of shouts coming from a nearby alley. She stopped, furrowing her brow, trying to discern the source of the sounds. Turning towards the dark alley, she noticed the figure of a young man on the ground, surrounded by 3 imposing men wearing leather jackets and visible tattoos on their arms. "What do you think you're doing here, country boy?" one of them growled, kicking the young man, whose face was partially covered by a tousled strand of hair. The young man, gasping, tried to get up only to be pushed back to the ground by the second man. "Do you think you can just show up here and ask us for information?" he mocked. Elena felt a mix of fear and indignation. Without thinking twice, she shouted, her voice echoing through the alley, "Stop this right now. I'll call the police." The 3 men, surprised, turned to her. The third, noticing her pregnant condition, set an alarm. "Hey guys, we don't want trouble with a pregnant woman." "That's none of your business, lady," the first one growled, though hesitantly. Elena, taking a deep breath and trying to maintain her composure despite her fear, retorted, "If you don't leave now, I'll scream even louder, and trust me, you don't want to deal with an angry pregnant woman." The 3 men exchanged glances, quickly assessing the situation and perhaps realizing it wasn't worth the trouble, decided to retreat, grumbling among themselves. With the attackers gone, Elena rushed to help the young man, who appeared disoriented and injured. "Are you okay?" she asked, extending her hand to help him up. The young man, wiping blood from his lips with the back of his hand, replied with a hesitant smile, "Thanks to you, yes." "Thank you." After helping Lucas to his feet, Elena took him to a nearby cafe to recover. Sitting at a table by the window with steaming cups of tea between them, Lucas began to share his story. "You know, I'm originally from a small town in the English countryside," Lucas said, looking at the horizon as if revisiting his hometown in his mind, "but I came to London with bigger dreams. I hope to find better opportunities here, a fresh start." Elena listened attentively, her eyes filled with empathy. "And what brought you to that alley? Why did those men attack you?" Lucas sighed, tracing his finger around the edge of his cup. "I was looking for a hostel. I had heard there was one near that alley, so when I saw those men, I thought they might give me some directions. But instead..." He paused, the memory still very fresh. Elena shook her head. "I'm sorry you had to go through that. London can be tough, but it also has a lot of kindness." Lucas smiled, his eyes meeting hers. "Like the kindness of a stranger who helped me today." Elena blushed slightly, but before she could respond, a sudden thought struck her. "My dinner," she exclaimed, getting up abruptly. "I completely lost track of time. My husband will be home soon, and I wanted to make something special for him." Lucas, seeing her concern, responded quickly, "Don't worry and go ahead, Elena. Thank you for everything." Elena smiled, placing her hand on his for a brief moment. "Take care, Lucas. I hope you find everything you're looking for here." And with that, she rushed out of the cafe, heading home with hopes of saving dinner and the evening. As Elena opened the door to her apartment, she was greeted by the serenity of her home. The soft light of dusk filtered through the curtains, revealing the table already set for dinner. It was only then that she noticed a white envelope on the table. With an uncomfortable feeling in her stomach, she approached and picked up the letter, immediately recognizing Noah's handwriting. "Elena," the letter began, "I don't know how to start this. I know there are no words that can justify or soften what I'm about to say. I found someone else, someone I believe to be my true soulmate. I don't tell you this to hurt you, but I feel I must be honest with you." Elena felt the weight of the words settle upon her, a cloud of disbelief and sadness spreading through her. She continued reading, "I've left 2 months' rent paid. After that, you'll need to decide whether to stay or move. I apologize for leaving you in this situation, especially now. Please take care of yourself and our baby." Elena's hands trembled as she placed the letter back on the table. Memories of her lonely childhood in the orphanage flooded her mind, the feeling of abandonment and fear of the unknown returning with full force. She slid slowly to the floor, hugging her knees as hot, heavy tears began to fall. She felt a wave of despair enveloping her, the sensation of being truly alone in a vast and indifferent world. For a moment, she felt lost in time, reverting to that little girl with dark hair and hopeful eyes looking out of the orphanage window and dreaming of a family that would love her unconditionally. The loneliness she had fought so hard to overcome was back, and Elena felt more vulnerable than ever. Life on the outskirts of London was a stark contrast to the cozy apartment Elena had known. The new home was modest, with thin walls that didn't block out the sounds of busy streets and loud neighbors. However, Elena had turned it into a sanctuary for Liam and herself, with colorful curtains and small plants on the windowsill that reminded her that there was beauty even in unexpected places. Every day, Elena woke up before dawn, put on her uniform, and walked to the local diner. Her boss, a burly man named Ron, had given her a chance when she needed it most. "You've got skillful hands, Elena," he would often say as she skillfully prepared sandwiches and a smile that could light up this whole city. Elena always smiled in response, grateful for the opportunity, but knowing that her smile often concealed the exhaustion and worry she felt. Liam was growing fast, a boy with bright, curious eyes. Although they were surrounded by hardships, the bond between mother and son was unbreakable. However, something began to worry Elena. Liam easily grew tired, often becoming breathless after simple playtime. Deciding to consult a doctor, Elena took Liam for a checkup. The diagnosis was a devastating blow. The doctor, a middle-aged man with thick-rimmed glasses, looked at Elena with sympathy in his eyes. "Mrs. Elena, your son has a congenital heart condition. He needs surgery, and I won't sugarcoat it, it's going to be an expensive procedure," he explained. Elena felt the world spinning around her. "Is there any other option? Any alternative treatment?" she asked hopefully. The doctor sighed. "Surgery is Liam's best chance at leading a normal, healthy life," he replied. Elena squeezed Liam's hand, feeling his tiny fingers squeeze back. "I'll find a way," she whispered, determined to fight for her son's future. Despair was settling in, but an idea struck her. Noah. Maybe he could help. Maybe he could finally take responsibility. With that hope in her heart, she began her search. She still had some contacts from their shared life, and it was through them that she got her ex-mother-in-law's phone number. Taking a deep breath, she dialed the number, waiting for a response on the other end of the line. The familiar and cold voice of Irina, her ex-mother-in-law, answered. "Who's calling?" Irina asked. "It's me, Elena. I need to talk to Noah, it's about Liam," Elena replied. There was a pause, and Elena could imagine Irina's disdainful expression. "Well, you're really out of the loop. Noah's in prison," Irina finally said. Elena felt like she had been hit by a train. "What? Why?" she asked. "Corruption," Irina replied dryly. "He got involved with the wrong people. But honestly, I don't see how this is any of your business." Elena swallowed the lump in her throat. "Liam needs surgery, Irina. It's serious. I thought Noah might want to know and help." Irina laughed bitterly. "Noah has his own problems now, and you've always been good at taking care of yourself. Good luck, Elena." With a click, Irina hung up. Elena let the phone fall to her side, tears threatening to spill. She felt more lost and helpless than ever. A wave of loneliness enveloped her, and she wondered how she would overcome this new obstacle. Elena always found solace in the sound of the waves and the sensation of sand beneath her feet. After dropping Liam off at school, she often took long walks along Lebanon Beach, allowing the gentle rhythm of the ocean to calm her turbulent thoughts. On that particular day, the sky was painted in pastel hues, and the breeze was gentle, carrying the salty sea air. Elena was lost in her thoughts, replaying every choice that had brought her to this point, when a familiar voice pierced the air. "Elena." She turned, squinting against the sun to see a man approaching. His stride was confident, his polished shoes gleamed, and the well-cut suit emphasized a strong posture. It was Lucas, but he was almost unrecognizable. The days of tousled hair and simple clothes were behind him. He now exuded success. "Lucas," Elena said, still in shock. "Is it really you?" Lucas smiled, his eyes shining with a mix of joy and nostalgia. "In the flesh. I never thought we'd meet here." Elena smiled back, touched by the memory of that fateful day when they first met. "You've changed so much. Look at you, you've become a businessman." Lucas laughed, looking down at his attire. "Oh, this? Yes, life has been kind to me. But what about you? How are you, Elena?" She hesitated, her eyes clouded with concerns. Their shared past was a mixture of kindness and hardships, and at that moment, the reunion seemed like the respite Elena so desperately needed. Lucas and Elena found a cozy spot on the sand where they sat, gazing out at the vast ocean. The initial silence was comforting, but Lucas felt that there was something that needed to be shared. "Do you remember the last time we saw each other?" Lucas began, digging his fingers into the sand. "I was so lost. I had just arrived in London, had nothing but a temporary job as a laborer." Elena nodded, remembering the young, injured, and vulnerable man she had helped. "I remember. And now you look so different. What happened?" Lucas smiled, a glint of pride in his eyes. "After that day, I realized I had to do something more. Getting a scholarship for civil engineering was my salvation. I worked hard, day and night, and after I graduated, I made the brave decision to start my own construction company." "Wow," Lucas said, genuinely impressed. "That's amazing. It must have been quite a journey." Lucas agreed. "It was. But it was worth every second. Looking back, it's almost surreal to see how far I've come since that day in the alley." He then tilted his head, studying Elena. "But what about you? There's something in your eyes, something that suggests not everything is okay." Elena hesitated for a moment, biting her lower lip. "Lucas, life hasn't been very kind to me lately." She then poured her heart out, sharing about Noah's betrayal, the struggle to support Liam, and her recent discovery about her son's health condition. Lucas listened attentively, his expression growing increasingly serious. When Elena finished, he reached out and squeezed her hand, offering silent comfort and understanding. Elena stared out at the horizon, tears welling up in her eyes as she shared her worries. Lucas watched her, his own eyes deep in thought, recalling that pregnant woman who had defended him when no one else would. "Elena," Lucas began, choosing his words carefully. "I remember that time in London as if it were yesterday. You could have walked away, but you chose to intervene. You chose to help a stranger in danger, even at the risk to yourself and your baby." Elena looked at him, wiping away tears. "I just did what I thought was right. I couldn't see someone in distress and simply walk by." Lucas smiled gently. "That's exactly what I admire about you, Elena. And now it's my turn to help." He took a deep breath before continuing. "I want to pay for Liam's surgery and ensure he gets the best post-operative care." Elena was in shock. She shook her head in disbelief, trying to process Lucas's words. "Lucas, I don't know what to say." Lucas caressed her hand. "Because you showed me kindness when I needed it most. This is my chance to give back, not just for me, but for Liam's sake." Elena felt tears welling up again, but this time they were tears of gratitude. "I never imagined," she whispered, "that a simple act could come back to me in such a wonderful way years later." Lucas pulled her into a warm embrace. "Life has a funny way of rewarding kindness, Elena. And you deserve all the goodness that's coming your way. The months that followed were filled with laughter, long walks, and endless conversations between Elena and Lucas. The affection between them grew so naturally that it seemed as if they had been destined to find each other again. During quiet candlelit dinners, they exchanged stories, laughed at their misadventures, and shared dreams for the future. I never thought, Elena began one evening, gazing at the stars, that after all the storms I've been through, I would find someone with whom I could be so true. Lucas, holding her hand, smiled softly. And I, after all the adversity, never thought I would find someone who understood my journey and accepted me for who I am. They made a pact to always base their relationship on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. A pact that would set the foundation for their growing family. One day, while playing in the park, Liam ran up to them with a drawing in his hands. On the paper, there were 4 people, him, Elena, Lucas, and a small dot next to Elena. "Mom," he said with shining eyes, "I made a drawing of our family. And this," he pointed to the dot, "is my little brother or sister who's coming." Elena laughed, surprised and touched. "How did you know, sweetheart?" Lucas winked at her. "Maybe he just senses it. Kids have a way of knowing these things." And so, amidst laughter and love, Elena's family found a new promise of happiness, further completing the picture of their life. It was a sunny afternoon, and the house was filled with joy. Elena and Lucas were setting up a picnic in the garden, while Liam enthusiastically drew in his art notebook. The scent of freshly baked apple pie wafted through the air, promising a delightful afternoon. However, persistent knocking at the front door interrupted the harmony of the moment. Elena, with a sense of unease, walked to the entrance and opened the door, finding herself face to face with a face from the past, Noah's face, older and weathered by time, but still unmistakable. He looked at her with pleading eyes, clearly wanting something. "Noah," Elena's voice was tense but firm. "What do you want?" Noah swallowed hard, nervously adjusting his shirt collar. "Elena, I am sorry for what I did to you and Liam. I was lost, but now I see how wrong I was." Elena felt a wave of emotion, but she kept her composure. "Years have passed, Noah. What do you expect to happen now? I just wanted to ask for forgiveness. I was a fool, but I've changed," Noah said. Elena crossed her arms, her gaze assessing him from top to bottom. "You know, Noah, actions have consequences. You made your choices, and we made ours. I found someone who values me, who loves Liam. We found peace." Noah nodded slowly, tears forming in his eyes. "I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. That's all." Elena sighed. "I've heard you. Now it's time for you to move on, just like we did." Noah nodded again, his eyes downcast. "Take care of them," he murmured before turning and walking away. Elena closed the door, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness. But she knew that to protect her family and their future, some doors from the past needed to remain closed. Sometime later, on a day where the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, creating an idyllic backdrop for the late afternoon, Elena sat in a rocking chair on the porch, a cup of tea in her hands, lost in her thoughts. Lucas approached, wrapping his arms around her and placing a gentle kiss on her forehead. "What are you thinking?" he asked, feeling the warmth of her body against his. Elena sighed, looking out at the horizon. "I was thinking about how life has curious ways of showing us the right path. I know I've had tough moments, but being here with you makes me realize how every obstacle was worth it." Lucas held her tighter, smiling. "I always say that destiny has a funny way of working. Maybe everything that happened was to lead us to each other." Elena smiled, turning to look at him. "You know, Lucas, with you, I've discovered what true love is. It's not just about passion or attraction, but about respect, understanding, and mutual care. With you, I feel loved and valued." Lucas smiled, his eyes filled with emotion. "Elena, you're the reason I believe in love. You showed me that it's possible to find someone who accepts you, respects you, and loves you unconditionally." Elena nestled into his arms, feeling safe and loved. I don't need anything more than this. I deserve to be happy and well treated, and thanks to you, I know exactly what that feels like. The two of them embraced tightly, swayed by the gentle rocking of the chair and the mutual affection they shared, certain that they had found in each other the true and lasting love they both deserved. Thank you for joining us today on Deep Stories. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video.